welcome to Raw with Rasha. I hope you guys are staying safe and well. Today's topic is Tantra and sex. So now you're either intrigued in this topic or interested, as am I. And I really wanted to talk about it because there are a lot of misconceptions around Tantra and sex that I wanted to help clear. No one better to talk to than Chandresh Bhardwaj, who is a 7th generation lineage holder from a family of Indian gurus practicing the Tantric tradition. He is also the founder of the Break the Norms movement. He's got his own podcast, Break the Norms, which I highly, highly recommend, along with this wonderful book called Break the Norms. Chandresh has also been very impactful in my life. He is my spiritual teacher, my meditation teacher, and just been a wonderful mentor to me. So I am beyond thrilled and honored to have him on my show. So let's talk to him about Tantra and sex. Welcome, Chandresh Bhardwaj. How are you?
I'm doing great, Rasha. And you said my name so perfect. I think I've lost, that feeling when on a podcast or interview, somebody says my name so perfectly well. But thanks to your Indian heritage, Indian origin, you were able to say that perfectly.
Well, it'd be horrible if I couldn't, okay? I would be a disgrace, I think, to my culture if I wasn't able to be pronouncing it. Tantra and sex. Definitely something that is an expert area of yours. And I want to start off just by talking about the term Tantra sex or Tantric sex, as people say too, because in your readings and from what I've heard on your podcast, those terms should not really be used like that together.
Yeah, it's really a marketing term. There's no spiritual context to it, and I did a podcast on Tantra sex a long time ago, and I mentioned in it, if there is Tantra sex, there should be yogic laughter, there should be tantric walk, there should be, meditative eating, then all those should also be there. But why there is so much I think focus on sex? Because it sells, and the marketing experts know it sells. And it could be called sex therapy, could be called sexual release, sexual tension release therapy, and any of those stuff. Calling it Tantra sex, it's just, it's like building an illusion that does not exist.
So how would you define Tantra then? Because I think a lot of people don't even understand what Tantra means.
Mm-hmm. Tantra literally means science or technique or technology. When we speak in Hindi or in like a regular Urdu, Hindi, Sanskrit language, we use Tantra word to just explain science, just to say like Wi-Fi is a Tantra, it's neutral. What you do with the Wi-Fi, that makes a difference. We could have a Zoom call, we could, upload a video, I could finish my, work with Wi-Fi, with internet. Tantra is that science. Tantra is the science of self-awareness, science of self-realization. It's a science where everyone is welcome, to experiment. Everything is inclusive. It will not exclude you for any reason, because all the other spiritual schools and philosophies, they like to exclude people. They like to tell you that you're not purified yet, you're not whole yet. In order to be part of us, you got to do this and that, you got to convert yourself. Tantra won't say that. And that's where the abuse could happen. When there is so much freedom, the human mind doesn't know what to do with the freedom. And that's when abuse happens. Unfortunately, we are just not ready to honor, understand, and practice the freedom of our consciousness. Tantra gives you that. And that's where the circus begins,
You mentioned the word abuse, but sex is it's so sacred, and it can be sacred. So how do you combine the two together then? Because obviously, we are in this westernized culture where it's just oversaturated and overly abused.
Yeah, we are unfortunately a sexually suppressed society. You could take the Eastern culture or the Western culture. There is a major level of suppression, abuse, lack of understanding about sexual energy. I grew up in India, and I saw there was a lot of conservative, controlled attitude about sex. And when I moved to New York, I realized in New York, there was not a conservative attitude, but almost over exploitive, almost over casual. And they both are dangerous extremes. There has to be a balance. And in this sexually suppressed society, we just need to build understanding of it. we are so afraid to, embrace our feelings, and we are so afraid to even acknowledge our sexual energy. And that's why it keeps on going, back to the root center. It follows the law of gravitation. Everything in life follows the law of gravitation, right? Except fire. Fire is the only one that goes up, everything else goes down. So when you do not do anything with that sexual energy, guess what happens? It keeps hitting the bottom center, the root center, and it only translates to sexual urge, sexual desires. And we handle it so unconsciously, so we don't even know what to do with it. I think the first step is to at least acknowledge that it's all right to have that feeling. It's all right when that feeling develops, and then you can meditate on how to change its course. Right now it's happening so unconsciously, and we are simply reacting to that energy, and that's not fun, that's not good.
Well, and speaking of unconsciously, you often talk about how the exchange of sexual energy is important, right? And that it is so important to look at your partners or who you are sleeping with, because there is that exchange of energy. Could you expand on that a little bit more? Because I don't think that's something people really think about. And you don't want to be having sex with all these multiple people and taking their energy in.
Yeah, you become whom you sleep with. That's like the bottom, mantra. The way, when you engage with anyone, it could be a business partner, a stranger in Starbucks, or just, someone for like 3 days or 3 weeks. Their energy is also affecting you, in their own way. And handshake, conversation, buying a coffee from Starbucks, they are like, minimal energy exchange moments. But when you start to engage with, emotionally, spiritually, sexually, there are multiple enormous levels of energy exchanges that happen. And you will feel their anxiety, you will give them your anxiety. It's like mixing, chocolate in milk. And for who are vegan, mixing chocolate in almond milk. You cannot take the chocolate out of the milk after like 30 seconds. It's done, it's mixed in. And that's why there is so much guilt, emptiness, dullness that people feel after engaging with someone sexually. I mean, we all know it, when you engage with someone sexually, why, you end up ghosting that person, why you end up blocking that person, why friendship is gone, why it changes the course of, that chemistry, because we are made to feel guilt about the sexual energy. And if I'm made to feel guilt about a very fundamental feeling, I'm going to start with hate and shame, right? I'm going to just have those emotions. And then I'm indulging impulsively, unconsciously. I'm going to put my stress on that person and take their stress. It's very simple, and yet a complicated mix of emotions that you start to, engage in. And it would take a long amount of time for you to just detox that energy. I'm not saying you should stop meeting people or stop indulging in the sexual energy, but do it with awareness. That's the responsibility.
Another thing that you touch upon is how the orgasmic state can help with healing. And that may be also another new concept to people. So could you tell us a little bit more about that?
That orgasm, what we call orgasm, unfortunately majority of people have never experienced it. Most people think it's ejaculation, that's orgasm. But orgasm is when you are beyond the sense of body, mind, and you become in that egolessness state where the ego is not there, where there's no control. And why, it's important to go through it, because it helps you to be in touch with who you are. But again, it has to be so conscious. It has to be a conscious experience. If you have a conscious orgasmic experience, you will not feel the urge to indulge in sexual experience for maybe months. But what's happening right now is the opposite, right? People, want to indulge in it multiple times, impulsively, every day, every other day, every weekend. It doesn't matter if they get it or not, right? But they want to indulge in that experience. That's because they never get to experience the true conscious orgasm. And I think it's because there is guilt, shame, stress, traumas. There's crazy stuff happening in a human mind. We have created a very uneducated, sexually suppressed society when it comes to understanding of these basic emotions. And unfortunately, the people who are supposed to, be the leaders, even they are abusing it.
I know this is an appropriate question to ask, but then how does masturbation fall into all of that? Is that supposed to be completely avoided, or is that part of also healing?
I get asked this question very often, so it's not even awkward. Randomly, I'll pick up my phone. There's like 3 questions on my Instagram. Is it okay to masturbate? So I have accepted by my role in this work that it would be anything and everything, and I have to be just, I have to, answer it with the best of my awareness. So masturbation is also the same law applies to it. If it's happening impulsively, unconsciously, if it's happening as a habit, it will deplete you, it will hurt you. But if you can indulge in it with awareness, and what would that be? That would be not doing it impulsively, not just doing it because you can't sleep, not just going into it because you're bored. The root is very important, the root of that act. There are ways that masturbation can actually help you, cultivate a certain form of healing. But now what happens, people would engage in it, multiple times a week or a day, and they would think that, oh, Chandresh said it's going to be healing, so I'm just going to engage in it. That's not how it's going to work. The reasons are very important, but I do encourage people that if they are actively masturbating, try to pause the whole repetition of it. Try to be in the act when you can be in touch with your emotions, be in touch with that non-body energy, not just physically, but also try to go beyond the body through it. There are plenty of ways that how you can understand your sexual energy, but you got to do the work. I think it's a chapter of life where that we all need to just indulge in, understand it, study it very well. My sexual energy is not going to be like yours is not going to be like someone else. So don't believe one template will work for everyone, because our traumas, our fearful episodes regarding sexual energy are very unique, very individual. So we got to go into it with an open heart, open mind, and kind of just let it flow in the most organic way.
Have you seen that show Unwell on Netflix? When their second episode is called Tantric Sex, and I recently watched it. I'd love to get your thoughts on it, because just sitting and watching it, I mean, even the way they portrayed Goddess Kali, someone who I worship, I just felt that they really needed to talk to someone who was maybe more of an expert in Tantra first.
Yeah, I watched it 2 hours ago, and I was hoping, I had an idea you would probably go into it. What by the way, I walked into that episode with a lot of patience and meditation. I was like, I'll not get angry, I'll not get upset, I'll not be disappointed with what I see, and I want to be very curious, very childlike when I watch it. So I think the problematic areas in that episode is, it's a 45-minute episode. It does not cover any aspect of Tantra, even beyond 0.001%. It talked about sexual massages and healing. It talked about how Kali is demonic. It talked about few other tiny things. It's like, having 50 cookies on table and they all are half baked. I'll throw up if I eat any of those cookies, right? That's how it felt like. It's not even introduction to Tantra. It's just talking about one woman who's doing sexual massages in Mexico, then one woman in Ohio. There were many problem areas. I didn't even feel it represented Tantra to the right extent. Uh, when I saw the goddess Kali was explained as the demonic, they actually call, there was a name they used which starts with demonology or something. They used some sort of name for it, which and it made me laugh, because it's the most outdated, uneducated view of Kali and Tantra. And the whole introduction was, I think, very messed up. And now my fear is, people are going to watch it and they are going to believe this is what Tantra is. It's either sexual healing or the demonic work of Goddess Kali, but it's none of them. Uh, we are in this Amazon 2-day delivery generation, right? Everyone wants to get the stuff done within 2 days, within weekend, and they want to learn Tantra over a 3-week certificate. That's not going to happen. I feel I've been meditating and learning and going into it from the age of even like younger than 10. And I genuinely feel I have not even started yet. I truly feel that I've not started. It's such a deep, vast, expansive science. It, you cannot even start it in 20 years. And then, when someone goes to Brazil or Mexico and they come back with a Tantra certificate, it's scary. It's not even like funny, it's scary.
The first thing I thought of was like, why do they not interview or find Chandresh to talk to? Because it kind of lacked the knowledge. And again, like you said, I mean, the opening just threw me off. And I felt like, wow, now you've just done a whole hodgepodge of stuff. Chandresh, what would be your message to people when it comes to Tantra and sex? What do you want them to know?
I would want people to know that, first of all, about sexual energy is a sacred, important aspect of you. Release it from the physical dimensions, understand it beyond the physical as well. That's super important. And understand each time the sexual energy, opens up in you, meditate on it, take a pause and ask yourself, what is the root of this energy right now? Why is it arousing? Why is it coming? And is there a creative outlet in front of me right now? It could be writing, gardening, working out, even calling someone and telling them, that you love them, you care for them. The day you start to pick a different creative conscious outlet of your sexual energy, your entire life is going to change, because you are no more a slave of that energy. You're not uh, being dominated by just a reaction. And about Tantra, I would recommend that if you really want to learn it, be prepared to put years and months of meditation, research, studying. It's not something that will be done in 5 years or 10 years. It's a very intensive, deeper study. Uh, Either you indulge in it fully or don't start it, because if you start it, that would be even more dangerous, right? And if you stop studying it after 6 months, you'll have a rough idea about plenty of things and not a clear idea of even one thing in Tantra.
You're talking about Tantra and sex, kind of merging together and how it can help you, and you're looking for teachers. How do you do that? I mean, of course, coming to someone like you would be wonderful, but there's so many like tantric sex teachers out there.
Yeah. you know Most of the tantric sex teachers attract the people who are sexually very suppressed, and you have to understand the cycle that starts. If there's a teacher who's putting out the kind of words, imagery, language which attracts people who are sexually suppressed or sexually traumatized, they get attracted to the teacher, they go there, and the teacher will make them do things to release the sexual tension. And the student might feel, oh, I feel lighter, I feel relaxed. And then the students might start to believe this is working. But guess what happens? In 3 days, again, the tension builds up. Again, they indulge in just a sexual tension release. And again, they feel, oh, I think it's working. I just have to maybe indulge in it 2 or 3 times, a week minimum. And that's not doing any spiritual work. That's just, engaging in the act of sex with some, fancy foreign Sanskrit names. That doesn't do anything. That's why I've always said, work with a teacher who will empower you, strengthen you, but also challenge your comfort zone. When people say yes to everything I say, I remind them, do not say yes to everything I'm saying. You have to question it. You have to just understand your own voice, and we can have a discussion. But if you keep saying yes, that everything you're saying resonates with me, that's something I can remind them, that if everything I'm saying resonates with your comfort zone, we got to revisit it. And then there are teachers who like to put everything out there, and they'll say, pick what resonates with you and leave the rest. Not recommended. I do not want to pick what resonates with me, because what if my trauma, my discomfort is resonating with, just one aspect of it. And then I'll only stay in my bubble, only stay in my illusion. It's like going for a surgery and, telling the doctor, do the surgery only where I feel comfortable. Don't go where it pains. That's going to kill you.
What I'm really excited about is that you are currently working on a new program, a new school to help people understand Tantra. So tell us about that.
So that was the reason, Rasha, why I left Wall Street in finance at one point. When I joined finance, everybody used to ask me that, is this going to be like your main playground now? Are you going to be into finance? And my answer used to be that after I complete 50, I'll leave Wall Street and I'll build a school from all the money that I made, from Wall Street. But it took me just a few months to realize that if I survive until 50 in Wall Street, I'll spend all the money in my treatment, because Wall Street is going to butcher my soul. So I ended up leaving Wall Street with only one intention, that there will be a school one day. It's very clear people are not interested in the real Tantra. They are interested in different Tantra, which I'm not even going to have in the school. So that would scare me, and I would just, put the project in the back seat. But thankfully in 2020, I realized that it has to happen. It needs to happen. And also in the last few years, the major thing I started to work on was letting go of every single validation, every single external approval. And it started from social media, and I started to expand that in my other, channels of life. And at this point, I'm just putting the work out there. There's no sales expectation or projection there. And the beauty is there are plenty of people who are, sending me messages and telling me that they want to be part of the school in any form. You are, of course, going to be there. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm excited. And, guys, Chandresh has been so pivotal in my spiritual journey. I mean, I went to the Himalayas with him, and that was so life-changing. I've continued to work with him, and I'm always bugging him for even the smallest things. But his understanding, his knowledge, and of course, as I mentioned earlier, because of his lineage, he is just one of the best people to provide all this information on. So I am so thrilled. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this conversation, and please, please, please do your research and have sex on your own discretion. We were just here to provide you some knowledge, some information, maybe some enlightenment perhaps, and you can get more knowledge and learn more about Chandresh at CB Meditates. He's on Instagram, he's on Facebook, Twitter, he's everywhere. So make sure you do check out his work and look out for that school. And Chandresh, thank you so much for the show.
Thank you, Rasha.
I'm seriously going to cry after this. Thanks to all of you for joining us on another episode of Raw with Rasha.